Okay, welcome to episode 5 of the Futurewear Vodcast. I'm very excited to be here with these lovely ladies today. I'm Julia Buchanan-Swart, and I have been part of the Futurewear initiative from the very start, first as a designer and now as a mentor on the program, which is such a privilege. Today we are going to be speaking about collaboration in fashion. Collaboration is a topic that I feel very passionate about. I think before we begin, perhaps each of you could just introduce yourselves. Megs, maybe if we could start with you, and then Yamkela, over to you.
Sure. So I'm obviously Megan Ubad, and I work for Pick n Pay Clothing, and I head up visual merchandising and customer experience. And in essence, what that really means is strategic product placement. I know not a lot of people are familiar with what visual merchandising actually means in the background, because it's really a background role. But in essence, obviously, to visually and make it appealing for our customers, and obviously that takes the consideration into the fact that it also plays a role in the customer experience of how the customer actually experiences the store. And that's what I do.
Such an important role.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yamkela Maselesele. I'm a conceptual designer. I have a brand called Maison KOTR. I was part of the Futurewear program in 2024. The spirit of collaboration, I feel like is very important, because you can't know everything, so you need people that have been doing it for a long time to educate you about the industry and how to do it properly, and I guess that helps you to thrive.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's such a lovely note to kind of start the discussion on, because Futurewear is so much about collaboration. You know, Futurewear makes it possible for young local designers to come into a major retailer space and to be able to design a collection that goes into stores nationwide. And you know, with that, I think it takes a lot of collaboration. You've got lots of different parties involved. So I think the process at times can be, you know, there's a lot of back and forth, but it's always worth it in the end. So Yamkela, maybe you can start us off and just speak a bit about your process at being a designer last year on the program, and then we can kind of maybe touch on this year's range, which is very exciting, where we've brought in a few of the designers from previous years. But maybe if you could just share a bit about your experience working with Pick n Pay on the program.
So last year I was selected to be part of the Futurewear program, which was my first time interacting with a retailer. You know, as a conceptual designer, an independent designer, I had my own visual language that I saw in one sphere. And then when I interacted with Pick n Pay and the Futurewear program, I realized that the language doesn't have to stay the same. It can expand, but still in your own language, you know. So my experience was working with a big team and finding a way of still keeping the concept the same, but also expanding it so that it is palatable to what is required, you know, to the mass audience, you know. Because when you're a conceptual designer, you kind of work with small groups, but when you work with a retailer, you have to think like thousands of people want to buy this. So for me, it really sharpened my business skills and my team skills. You know, I always thought I was a team player, but then when I was put in front of like this massive team that has like more expertise than me, I was able to follow as well as lead. And the program itself doesn't strip you of your design language, it just amplifies it. So for me, my experience was very enlightening, you know, personally as a business, where I'm like, okay, I don't have to think about fashion in one way. This thing can have like multiple languages and still be relevant to what I'm trying to put out in the world. So yeah, that's what the program did for me.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Sorry,
Really great answer. Very holistic.
Yeah. And Megan, maybe you can share a bit about in your work. I mean, maybe we can speak specifically now about the collective that's launching, with kind of like a group of young voices. How do you kind of in your work ensure that you are, you know, putting out what you need to, but also kind of I'm sure there's like a lot of opinions involved. So how
Sure.
do you kind of manage that collaboration element of your work?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's been very interesting. I mean, I've worked on, obviously, I've been with Pick n Pay now for about 3 years, and I've worked on a lot of collabs. And I guess with every collab that we go through, you learn a little bit more around what to do better in terms of collaboration, and in terms of how to kind of set it up for the customer to really understand what the designer wants the customer to know. And so we've evolved actually in developing fixtures, not only for the designer collab pieces that we're doing, but to be able to have a voice at the front of the store with anything that we really want the customer to know, to be able to truly reflect an entire outfit, and to be able to combine that with campaign collateral that also tells a story. So there was a lot of collaboration in the background with store dev and fixture development, manufacturers, and working back with the marketing team. So there's actually so much that happens in the background. It's not complex, but it does require a lot of focus and clarity around what we want to do. And we actually actually rolled out some new front and center fixtures this year, which is really exciting. And I feel like for the first time this year, we could truly showcase consistency across all the stores where we do launch the collabs well, and it actually does elevate the message to the customer, which we couldn't really achieve previously. So I think that's really great. We want to be able to speak with one voice, regardless if it's a collab or not. So the strategy actually is not just help the voice of the collab, but the voice of everything that we want to tell the customer at the lease line of our stores. So so I mean, it's truly, in essence, it's not a one person piece. It is really getting everybody together and understanding. And then, of course, being conscious around particularly understanding what everybody's wishes are, and then coming to a middle ground to understand how can we make it work, but also elevate the work.
Thank you for that. So just leading on from that, it's clear that there are so many different role players in making these collaborations and collections possible. And I think it would be wonderful if you could maybe just give a bit of insight from Pick n Pay's side as to how you guys kind of manage, the different personalities. You've got a lot of very creative people, but then you've also got things like budget constraints. So how do you guys kind of navigate all of those different parties and voices involved?
Sure, great question. Well, I mean, on this particular collab that we're doing, there's about 9 designers, and then about 15 Pick n Pay clothing team members that actually works on this project. And very true. We have to take into consideration to be able to listen to what the designers actually want, to kind of like keep the dream. I think that's really important, because I think designers really design from a personal point of view, but also wanting customers to be able to experience it in their way and then making it their own. I think that's important for us to kind of hold in the space whilst we're working with them, to be able to still do compromises. So a big element would be is that budget, as an example. We would love to be able to go big and bold and creative, but the reality is that we don't necessarily have the budget, but the budget we do have is to be able to give them options around the elements that they can choose from that would be able to elevate their piece as part of the store when we do the setup. So I think it does take a little bit of a compromise piece, but still an what is going to happen, and then to obviously all bring it together. So I think managing the personalities, I think everybody's very much aligned around what we want to achieve. So that's not really difficult. I think it is more just being sensitive around the piece that if we could do it all, we would, but there are elements where we are constricted in, and then to try and come to a compromise in a good way to be able to still give everybody what they want, but within a reason of means, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
Yeah, I'd like to jump there. So as a designer and having gone through this process, I also learned the skill of pivoting. You know, because as you said, as designers, we work from a place of compassion, dream, whatnot, and sometimes the budget aspect of it kind of fizzles out, you know, because you want this thing to look a certain way because it represents a certain emotion, you know. But now when you work with a retailer, you gain a skill that, in terms of you wanted a certain trim, but you can translate that in a different way, you know. It doesn't mean that your garment or collection becomes less of what you envisioned it, but you learn the skill of pivoting that, okay, I couldn't get this, but I can, that essence that I wanted to capture through this garment, I can do it in a certain way. And with this collaboration, I learned that, you know, and it's so refreshing to see how the collection, from the first draft you sent in, how it morphs into something solid, you know, and it doesn't take away from your vision for it, but it shows like how you can manipulate this concept to still have the same voice, but to be palatable and also fall in line with the budget set for you. And then what that does for you outside, like when the collaborations are done, whatever, you are able to go into the store. Let's say you wanted a trim, now the trim is expensive. You're able to think of a different way, like creative way of still having what you want, but at a reasonable rate. So with that, with the collaboration that I had with you guys, now I have that sense like, okay, I wanted a certain thing, we can't get it, but I can also get it in a different way, you know. So that's what I got from Futurewear.
Thank you so much for that, Yamkela. Leading on from that, I wanted to ask you, I think something that always comes up in collaborations, whether it's with designers or artists who or whoever it may be, is kind of like ensuring that you keep the integrity of your work while also kind of bending where it needs to be, because it's important to be flexible. So I wanted to ask you, throughout your process of collaborations, whether with Pick n Pay or in other facets of your career, what are ways in which you ensure that you are kind of keeping the integrity of your work while also ensuring that you are flexing when you need to, or being flexible when you need to accommodate the various projects?
I think the first thing is really seeing this thing outside of yourself, you know. And what I do now, because I'm older, I'm able to zoom out and look at this thing and place myself correctly, you know. I think the spirit of working with other people, sometimes you want to not really take over, but to show that, okay, I can do this, you know, I can, but it's very important, and for a young designer as well, to really zoom out and see what are you capable of doing, right? Being flexible, as you said, but also understanding that it's a team effort, you know, it's a team effort. And I feel like young designers kind of fall into that trap of, I can do everything, and then that compromises the integrity of the work. So what I've learned through working with Pick n Pay, other brands, is understanding it's a team effort, and zoom out, look at this thing correctly, because at the end of the day, it's the work that speaks. You know, it's not about the brand, your brand being attached to it. It's about the work, you know, and what you can do, and where you can insert yourself. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I feel like having been in the industry for the few years that I've been in, and seeing myself grow into the industry, I'm able now to zoom out and look at it as a team effort instead of being like, okay, I'm just going to do this because I'm the designer. It doesn't work like that. And I saw with working with the retailer that actually doesn't work like that. Like there's, as you said, 15 people that work at with this Futurewear program. So I have that thing in mind that this thing has to be like you have to compartmentalize. It's a department thing. So at the end of the day, the work itself needs to be strong.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
I also think, collaboration's always been a very big part of my work, whether it's been in my brand, kind of working with artists, doing artworks for swimwear, or with Art School Africa. We work with a lot of various experts from within the art industry, and I think it's so important when you go into early discussions with people, when you are going to collaborate, and you need to think beforehand, okay, what are the things that I'm bringing to the table here, and what are the things that you're needing the other party to bring to the table, and then to kind of be comfortable with that agreement, because I think that's really when it becomes a very powerful collaboration,
for sure.
when everyone's playing to their strengths and you kind of are bringing together a bunch of different parties. That like makes it so dynamic, I think, and it's so true what you're saying. I think as soon as someone's in the mentality of like, I can do it all, I know how this, I know how this works, I think that becomes a dangerous territory. So I think it's so important to always be very receptive to kind of listening to other people's opinions and experiences, and that's really how you can learn and benefit the most from a collaboration.
And to add on, like for young designers or people that are trying to enter the industry, sometimes it's fear-based, to be honest, because you want to make sure that you put in your 100% in. Like you want to make sure you don't pass up on opportunities, and that's why I feel like it's very important for you to zoom out, and not grab as you go, because sometimes you're not at that place yet, but there is room for you to grow. So I would say to young creatives, and I know it's difficult because everyone is trying to build a name for themselves, and we live in a world where consistency, but now I feel like we need to understand that consistency, we need to break down the term of consistency. Consistency is not every month you release something. Consistency is making sure everything that you put out there represents you in the best light ever. And for young designers, I wish we were taught that from the onset, because being in the fashion industry, it's put in your head that you have to stay on your game. You'll be out tomorrow, whereas if you're trying to build something that has structure, take your time, and be willing to step back, be willing to take a smaller road, be willing to follow, don't be afraid of your own voice. If you feel like, I'm a bit lost right now, yes, I did say I can, but right now I feel like kind of fizzling out, don't be scared of voicing that, because you think it might be taken away from you. That might harm you, then do you good.
Yeah, I just also want to add to that. I think the three of us have been in obviously in the industry, but in different areas. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned throughout the years is to be able to allow yourself some space. I think with all the pressure that's going around in terms of your self-pressure around wanting to be better and you want to be the best, and then also going into spaces and really forcing that narrative, I think is hard, and it's most probably unnecessary. I also wish someone could would have told me that when I was younger. But I guess it's also the only way you can learn, right? Is from self-experience. But I think creating space for yourself and to be able to zoom in and out in that space, to really understand, you are going to grow as a person and you are going to grow within your field. So it is important as a designer, when you start, is you obviously have a specific voice and a specific dream that you want to reach, but that will pivot in some sort of way as you go and grow. And I think it is important to allow yourself some space to be able to flex in and out of it, to really actually form your true voice and truly what do you want to put out there, and building a brand, a personal brand, a clothing brand, it takes time and it does take consistency, but consistency means a lot of different things. I agree with you. It's not about just launching a specific post on a time. It's not just launching a specific range at a time. It's actually understanding consistently what you do and how you flex in and out into that space so that you can become the version that you want to become. A dream doesn't just start today and then it ends today. A dream is something that continues throughout your life, and then the dream pivots and the dream grows, but there will always be a little bit of a trickle of the essence of what you're trying to do as a person and as a the brand voice or whatever it is that you want to call. But I do really want to encourage any young designers. I know it's easier said than done, but it is important to allow yourself some space. Pressure also takes away creativity. I mean, I know it's a pressured environment, but it's also a journey. And sometimes you're gonna have a really good time, and then sometimes you're gonna have a really bad time, and that's okay. It's allowing that space, because in times when it's tough, that's where you need to understand the growth essence around what do I need to learn and get out of this. And then times when it's good, man, just ride it. And then just take it. But it's the ebbs and flows of life. So I think, it's a long-term game. It's not a quick 400-meter race. It doesn't exist.
Which we often think it is,
right?
isn't
Yes.
it?
It's I think the biggest thing is that as young people, instant gratification plays such a big part of what we do, but it can also be dangerous. So I think it's to manage your instant gratification, because that can sometimes lead you in putting too much pressure where it's not needed.
Yeah.
You have to allow that space. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Such a good point.
I relate to that.
It's really a good point. And I mean, realistically, it's tough, as a young creative. I think in South Africa there are a lot of incredible opportunities, but it is also really tough. The hustle is real.
For sure.
And I think often it's tough in that kind of space when you're really trying to crack through to create the space to reflect. But I think it is so important, because those kind of like quiet times of reflection are really, they play such a pivotal role in establishing who you are as a personal brand or a fashion brand. And I think also in that, it boils down to the point of sustainability, I guess. I think it's important to also be very realistic in terms of capacity, and you get to a point where it's important to also think, is this aligned with what I want to do? And I think in collaboration particularly, that's so important, because you can have an incredible opportunity come your way, but if it's not aligned with your vision and what you are wanting to put out into the world, sometimes one needs to make quite tough calls when it comes to that. So I think that's also really important, is just that element of like being sustainable in what you do, because I think a lot of the time we like sprinting out the starting blocks, and then you burn out, and then
Exactly.
So thank you for raising that point. It's a really good reminder to all of us.
So in the light of what I just said, recently I had to turn down an opportunity because, as I said, you have to zoom out, and sometimes the zooming out is not your capabilities. It's sometimes like, what does the opportunity bring you? Sometimes things look great on paper and they might help you go a step further. But as Julia said, you need to see it, like look at it. Does it align with what I'm building? And with the opportunity, it looked really great, but I had to sit down with myself, look at this thing that I'm building, and ask myself the hard question: will this enhance what I'm building? And not just grab the opportunity because it looks good on paper. And sometimes it was soul crushing in a way, but I was so proud of myself because I was able to pick my vision over anything. And sometimes
that's so empowering.
It's difficult. It was sad in the moment, but I realized that, oh wow, I'm able to make the conscious decisions for myself and my brand. So I am a step further, whereas in the past, everything, I would take everything, because in my mind, every opportunity aligns with my bigger picture. Now I'm able to be selfish with my bigger picture and look at it and say, okay, it looks great. Maybe I might, but if it doesn't answer the important questions that I've set for my brand, for my business, I need to walk away. And as I said, like, being young and trying to build something, that might be a struggle, because you sometimes it's fear-based, because I've also been through that, where I'm scared of losing out. What if this is my big break? What if? But I now know that if you work on this thing, I've been working on this thing for years. I'm going to be what they say about overnight success taking 10 years. I hope next year is my overnight success. Oh my God! But I'm able, like, it shows that I'm close. It might not, and also we need to remember that small wins count. Your ability to say no to something, that's a win. Your ability to work with a retailer, that's a win. Because we all have our bigger pictures. I'd like to see myself abroad, whatever. But these are small wins that will amount to the bigger picture. So that experience in itself really opened my mind and really showed me that I am mature enough and I can trust myself with what I'm trying to do. So I think, and it does take time. You will fall on your face a few times for you to realize that you need to do that sometimes. But once you get to that point, I feel like you become unstoppable, because now you are engaging with things that will enhance what you're trying to build.
Yeah, I think that's such a it's an incredible takeaway. I think it's so amazing to see that you can what learnings you can take from the Futurewear program and actually apply it to your personal life. I think personal growth really helps you to elevate all the other pieces part of your life, and you've obviously found your true ring to your voice, and I think it's incredible to be able to have that power. I don't think everybody's got that, and if you don't have it as yet, don't worry, it will come with time. But I think it is great that you could get that from this program, which is incredible. And Jules, for you, you're a serious entrepreneur, a serial killer entrepreneur. You've just grown, and when I say grow, I mean, like, you've just gone from one success story to the next. How do you do it all?
Listen, I think having that entrepreneurial itch is a blessing and a curse.
Sure.
Because you have to scratch it if you've got it, I think for me personally, I feel like we are constantly reinventing ourselves. So we have these different phases of life that kind of like lead into each other. And for me personally, it was really important to kind of follow which doors were opening and closing. And in that, there was a lot of time when I was really uncertain and very doubtful. And my husband, bless his soul, he's such a saint. There's times when you really are unsure as an entrepreneur. You're unsure, like, do I take this opportunity? Do I not? There's a lot of really tough decisions along the way. But I think it's important to kind of, you need to trust your gut, as cliche as it sounds. I think that's really important. And also not to be so, like, to restrict yourself too much. I think often we feel this kind of pressure to stick within certain like boxes. So whenever people ask me, what do you do? I'm like, how much time do we have here? I think it's important to also be open-minded in your practice as a creative. It's some of the time there are blurred lines. So for example, when I started my swimwear brand, I was working with artists, and we had these beautiful collaborations with Amy Ayanda, Alexia Vogel, who did these beautiful artworks that we translated onto the swimwear. And I've always kind of worked within the art and the fashion industries in parallel, and it's been quite beautiful to actually see the connections between the two practices and how they can come together. So that's been really important for me to stay open-minded, and to try not like box myself in too much. And then I mean, sleep is just not a thing. It's just not.
What is sleep?
But also really important is to acknowledge what your strengths and weaknesses are very early on in your career. So I know personally I'm not financially very savvy. So I even if I'm like operating on tiny budgets, I'll make sure that I keep a bit of that to get someone to help me with that part of my business. So I think, going back to what you were saying, don't try to be a hero and do all of it. If there are certain areas that you are not strong in, outsource where you can, even if it's on a tiny scale to start.
100%.
That plays a really big role in being able to build something, is getting in different expertise. So I hope that answers the question.
I think that was such a great answer, because again, you didn't put yourself in a box, which is true to you. So I think that's really fantastic. I think, for any young or older listeners, I think it's important to understand that there's a reason why there's different specialities in this lifetime, and there's a reason why there's so many different career paths one can choose. Is because we're all different and we all bring something different to the table, and the ability to be able to flex yourself in terms of asking for help, or making sure that you actually reach out to a specialist that actually knows what they're doing, is not a weakness. We are not supposed to know it all. We are not supposed to do it all. I think the most beautiful thing that you can do in your life is not just a collaboration with people when you do collections together, but in actual fact a collaboration either within your circle or outside of your circle, to be able to help you better understand or manage the things that you can't necessarily do. From my personal experience, I think I learned it the hard way, which is also okay. But I mean, I do wish that from younger, my younger version of me could have maybe been open to asking more. It almost seemed like it was kind of like a weakness to not know it all and not being able to do it all. In actual fact, that's where we have it all wrong.
That's where you learn the most.
Because other people's experiences, expertise, ideas really transforms whatever it is, your ideas, your career, your job, your business. It actually transforms it to a more holistic piece, and it actually just takes it a notch up. I don't think that one person has all the answers.
No, definitely.
And to be able to flex inside and outside of your box is really fantastic. I think it is a skill in itself. But I just wanted to add that note, because I do think it's important to understand that you don't have to have it all, but you can have it all if you are willing to collaborate and to understand what benefits that actually brings to you.
And to your point of it being a journey is so true. And I'll never forget, there was a day I was sitting, I was renting kind of a small space close by here, and I was sitting in the office, and it was very early stages of Art School Africa, which is a non-profit organization that I run. And I was having a lot of self-doubt. I was like, what is going on? What am I doing? And I'll never forget, actually, one of the staff members who was working kind of in the display for Pick n Pay, he picked his head into the office and he said to me, something inside me has just said to me that I need to come and tell you that it's going to work out so much better than you could ever imagine.
Wow, that's incredible.
And he paused and he repeated it again. And he was like, I had to tell you that. And I mean, now a few years down the line, I wish I had just relaxed a little bit at some points. I think so often we get so tense when we don't have it all figured out. But it really is a journey. So I think enjoy the stages where you can. And as I said, follow your gut and trust the process. As tough as it is, it sounds like such a cliche, but
easier said than done.
it really is important. But I wanted to ask you on that note, what was, maybe you could give a bit of insight into your journey into getting into visual merchandising, because it is such a niche. What was kind of the route that you took to get there?
Well, great question. How much time do we have now? I'm just joking. So, no, I'll try and keep it short and sweet and to the point. I won't go into all the details, but I'll just give you kind of like a roundabout. I am not doing what I studied at all. In actual fact, I studied media, wanting to become a TV presenter, and then I realized I am definitely way better behind the scenes than in front of the camera. And so it kind of led me to an opportunity within the filming industry, and I was a PA and a wardrobe stylist on some of the international shoots, which was really cool. And then I just actually ended up working for Egg Films for a moment in time, and then I continued my journey into a television program, Boerse Vrou, and that was such an incredible journey as well. I got to know myself, and I got to really, I see the bigger pictures of real life situations, and I learned a lot. I personally, I felt like it was a personal growth a piece for me, and then I kind of decided. I obviously did the wardrobe buying and styling then. Sorry, I should have added that in. And then I was like, well, what does it really mean for me, right? I know I'm a hustler by trade, by the way. That's what I do, I hustle.
We all have to hustle.
Yeah, I hustle. That's my trademark. Naturally, so I went into style, a wardrobe buying and styling, and then I was like, well, I guess the next industry is retail, right? And so I didn't really actually know what I was going to do, but I saw a role that was available at the Platinum Group as a visual merchandiser, actually just in store. And I said, well, why not? I'm going to try this. And then I started with them, and then I ended up doing the visual merchandising and window designs for them, which was really lovely for the Vertigo brand. And then I kind of just started my career within retail, and I've obviously worked for a couple of different brands. I've worked for Mango, La Senza, when we still did have the standalone stores here, and I also actually made a step change within my career. I actually moved over to retail operations as well to get myself a little bit more rounded. And and then I ended up, I did that actually at Cotton On. I worked there for about just over 8 years. And within those 8 years, I did a couple of different roles, which was amazing. And then I landed up in a role being head of visual merchandising customer experience. And that's kind of where I learned that's what I really want to do, and I've got a big passion for people, and I'm obviously creative as well, so I felt like I could do a little bit of both. I get to work with incredible people, and I get to create and do, and then obviously I got the incredible opportunity to start and head up the department for Pick n Pay clothing, and it's been one incredible growth journey. Working for international companies versus a local company is huge, and I've had the ability to create and have the freedom to kind of like fail fast and move forward. And I think it's actually most probably been my career highlight this far.
Wow.
Even though all my other journeys had highlights, but this has definitely been a personal growth element again for me. Around my ability, what I can do and cannot do, and also then to lean into other functions to learn and grow, and I think collaboration really came alive for me at Pick n Pay Clothing, because there's so many different things and so many different people, and we do incredible work outside of the scope of what we do in our stores. So this has been it's been a great journey.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe we can speak a bit about the Futurewear Collective, which is now being launched in stores, which is very exciting. So just to give a bit of background about that to all of the listeners, I think Futurewear has been running for 5 or 6 years now. And what we've done this year is very exciting. We have invited the kind of past cohort of young designers to all come together and to design a collective range. So I was fortunate enough to be able to design the print, and then each designer kind of did their own look or silhouette, which is so exciting. I can't wait to see it all in stores. Kayla, maybe you can share a bit about your kind of process within this specific collection. Have you enjoyed it? Has it been cool kind of getting back together with the other designers and meeting some of them? Yeah, what's been your experience?
So, it was such a learning curve, firstly, because usually when you design or you're a designer, you start something, right? So, as I said before, like, learning to integrate yourself in a team is so important, because as you said, you design the print, right? So it's following that concept, but also adding to it and making it your own, but also making it cohesive, because there were other designers that were part of this collection. So it was such a learning curve, because it showed that I can still be me in a team setting, and I feel like that's such a powerful thing to learn, because it becomes a power struggle sometimes where you're like, I want to shine, I want to be the Beyonce of this thing, whereas everyone can be Beyonce. Literally, everyone can be Beyonce. you know. So it was such a beautiful experience, because it was my first time working in that situation, in that theme of collaboration, where you have a set brief. Okay, I've done briefs before, but in terms of being a designer, you have a brief and show us what you have, what you got, and also cater to the retailer, but also we want your creative voice in this. So for me, I think it added to one of my notches as a business person. I'm like, okay, it grew me, and I could see myself in the collection, and also see your print, and also see the retailer, and also see the customer, without feeling like I'm left behind. So it's very important to know how to be comfortable in those settings and not feel like you're less than, or you have to minimize your voice. It's knowing how to place your voice, and that's such a huge theme in my career right now. Placement, because when you understand that concept, you are able to pivot, and still stay true to what you're trying to present, And also for me, I'm watching this thing develop into something I never thought it would be. I've always said I know where I'm going, but the way I'm getting to it is so interesting to me and so breathtaking, because I'm like, oh wow, with my aesthetic, or what I thought my aesthetic was, I never thought I'd be engaging with the industry, the retail industry, the way I'm engaging with it. My collaboration last year, I was like, oh, okay. I saw myself. It was an out of body experience where I saw myself doing this work. So with this year's collaboration, where it's not just me, the designer. There's designers working on this thing. It was such a growth moment for me, and I had fun. I had fun, honestly.
And I mean, for those listening, I think to juggle a handful of designers, we've got the 2 mentors, we've got the Pick and Pay team who's having to manage the logistics. It's quite a thing. But looking at the collection as a whole, it's really beautiful to see each person's kind of fingerprint, is that the right word, or the voice come through in the pieces. You've kind of gone with a slightly more structured silhouette. We've got Zara Kasim, who's got the beautiful flowy kind of dress. So it's beautiful to see how everyone's handwriting has come through in their specific designs. Megs, maybe you could give us a bit of insight into what people can expect in stores. Maybe you can shine a bit of light on which stores people can find the collection in, where to look out for it. Maybe a little sneak peek of the visual merchandising, what's going to be happening.
Okay, well, we don't want to get all the way.
No.
No, I'm just joking. Well, obviously, we won't show visuals now, so. But I think what is exciting about this collection is we're definitely going to have a lot more pieces. Part of it, we're actually going to have an entire outfit. So from hair accessories to different type of outfitting pieces, or 1 pieces, 2 pieces. which is very much elevated.
Bags, shoes.
And then obviously having some extra accessories, so bags and shoes to really just complement the outfit. So we really want the customer to buy into the full collection. We want you to be top to bottom fully dressed in it, and you can of course make it your own, right? So that's what we want. But I think this is very exciting because it's actually the first time that we're doing a scaled a kind of outfitting piece, and with the fixtures that we've developed as well, we'll be able to showcase it as well. So it will kind of paint the picture when you do walk into store. We're going to obviously do a couple of different kind of campaign collateral pieces, which will also kind of elevate the voices of the designers, which is going to be fantastic. But I must say, everybody around the table is super excited for this. I think it's going to be a step change. Not that any of the other designers wasn't a step change. This is just going to be a really like full complete collection, which is amazing. So we hope that everybody is going to be as excited as what we are, and also to kind of like buy an entire outfit look, because that's ultimately what we want, right? So and I think the designers just kind of got their voices in there, but it's still cohesive, which is incredible, right? So I think that's the other piece around it. So I can imagine that it was a little bit of a compromise, but had a nice ring to it. So in terms of the collaboration, but I think it's gonna have a moment.
To add to that, it was so interesting for me because with the theme of the collection, it was, I don't want to, for lack of a better phrase, like a bit out of my comfort zone, and like still make it my own, but still fit to the brief. And I feel like that's very important to learn earlier on into your career, that you can follow the brief and still attach yourself to it, And I feel like the collection as a whole, people have the opportunity to leave it as is, but also fit it into their own personal style. And I feel like as a designer, it also allows you to extend on what you believe your brand identity is. You don't have to, as you said, box yourself into the small corner where you're like, okay, this is what I do and that's it. But when you are met with such opportunities where you're like, okay, this is who I am, I can still be that in this, So I'm super excited to see how the whole range looks like and see how I can play around with what's being put on the table, and I believe the customer will also feel the same. You're not just limited to just one thing. You can play around with it if you want to, but also like for me, also the elevation of my brand personally, like where we used to like deal with a certain aesthetic, but now I find myself like interacting with this aesthetic and still seeing my brand in it. So I'm very excited for the brand, for the range, but also to see what happens after,
And that's
great.
I guess and that shows a lot of growth. I think to be able to, at times, kind of like part of you is you're not losing your identity in it, but you understand that this is a specific brief, and to be able to kind of deliver to that within the brief, but keeping your voice, I think, is really the definition of success in a collaboration. So I want to really compliment you and the other designers. I think the collection is so beautiful, and really, really looking forward to seeing it in stores. Okay, cool. So just for those listening, the collection launches in stores on the 27th of October. So exciting. It's going to be in select stores nationwide as well as online. So don't miss out. These collections fly so fast off the shelves. Go and check it out. And it's been really, really lovely to chat to both of you. So great having a all-woman discussion here this morning.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much to Pick and Pay for making this all possible. And we will see you next time.
Thank you. It was lovely. Thank you.